every year with birds and everything.
Okay, what about vegetables? Anybody do vegetables outdoors year round?
Garlic gets planted in the fall. Here's girl.
What about lettuce, spinach, carrots, potatoes?
Yeah, I can do.
Okay. Are you using a tunnel or just cold frames?
I'm using dirt and seeds.
Okay.
That's the part. I got no clue what I'm doing. I sow the seeds out, it grows great, it doesn't.
So you're saying that you're not out in the middle of winter harvesting and going back to road covers and getting your fresh lettuce?
I don't even shovel the snow out of my driveway.
So the answer
Okay, well, I hopefully am going to teach you how to grow outdoors year round, which would be really useful in a survival situation. I'm just going to go over the basics. For those of you that want to know more, I have several of my books back on my table that you can purchase today. I also have CDs for those of you that prefer digital copies. I have my business cards back there with all of my blog information on it, which my blogs contain a lot of free information, and of course tell you how to contact me. So, you can make a basic protective cover out of almost anything that will let you grow things like lettuce and other cold crops throughout the winter here in Indiana. And when I say basic protective cover that you can make out of almost anything, I have used tomato cages that I have covered with frost cover, which you can get at Lowe's or you can buy online at Johnny's. And then I have layered that with 6 mil plastic, which is just the window plastic that you would cover your windows with. You do have to start your plants about mid-July, sometimes the 1st of August, but the sooner you get them started, the better they're going to be, because you need these plants to be mature size, with the exception of carrots, potatoes, before winter comes. Now, when I say with the exception of potatoes, the best time to plant potatoes in Indiana is from Thanksgiving through Christmas. The way you have to do that, you have to plan ahead for this, because getting potatoes that time of the year can be a little tricky, and you really don't want to use the grocery store potatoes, because that could put all kinds of problems in. They can have bacteria and other things that can go into your soil and cause big problems. So plan ahead. You want to dig a trench that is 2 shovel widths deep. You got to do this before your ground freezes. And in the bottom of that trench, you want to put grass clippings. Those of you that have chickens, put your chicken things out from your coop in it. You can use leaves, anything to give yourself about a 1 to 2 inch layer of organic material. And then anytime after Thanksgiving to anytime before Christmas, you want to put those sprouted potatoes in the ground, cover them with another layer of organic matter, put a little thin sprinkling of soil on top so that the organic matter doesn't blow away, and then wait. Keep an eye on it. As soon as you see it, the potatoes starting to sprout in spring, start backfilling that soil that you pulled out. Those potatoes will be ready to harvest the end of May, the 1st of June. And here's another trick to get yourself more potatoes. As soon as you see that first flowering come up on those potatoes, pinch it off. Don't do anything until after the second flowering, when those potato stems start to die back. Once you harvest those potatoes, that is the perfect spot to plant your carrots, because that soil is already loose and friable. If you plant potatoes normal time, let's say you have potatoes and carrots in the ground right now, you do not have to harvest those at the end of the season. You can take straw or anything like that and you can pile it on. You've got to pile it thick, probably 6 inches or so, and you can peel that back during winter time and go down and harvest. The advantage to this is, 1, you don't have to worry about food storage inside, and 2, potatoes that have been hit by the cold and the frost are actually sweeter than carrots that you would harvest in the summertime. So, and the advantage to doing potatoes this way is you're not taking up your garden in the summer. You're using the backside of the calendar. And of course, most of you know that your fresh produce has more nutrition value than anything you can buy at the grocery store. If we are talking about a survival situation, you need to really think, because if you're canning food and you have to bug out, you're not taking those cans with you. I mean, let's be realistic. That food's going to get left behind in your home. If you're freeze drying, okay, you could take it with you, but even then, you're still going to want and need fresh food. So understanding now how to start doing this and how to work the seasons is really, really important, because if something happens, you already know what you're doing. You really don't want to wait till the last minute. And the other thing is, think how much that fresh produce costs in the wintertime at the store. By growing it yourself, think of how much money you're going to save. And even if you don't have space outdoors to garden, you can grow quite a bit of food in containers. This works well, especially indoors. I used to say just use the 4-foot fluorescent grow lights. And then I started using the red and blue LED grow lights. I'm going to tell you, there's a huge difference. It is so worth the investment in those lights. Even if you get the screw-in ones that just go like in the heat lamps that you would clip on, it really, really does make a huge difference. Some easy container plants that you guys can grow, and you can also protect your container plants with a cold frame, just like you would if it was in the ground. You can grow bush beans, cucumbers, eggplants, green onions, small melons, peppers, all kinds of salad greens, Swiss chard, strawberries, tomatoes. The patio, the cherry, the grape, and the paste varieties do work best, but you can grow a full-size tomato in a 5-gallon bucket. And of course, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes. You know, there are a lot of seeds that are bred that are not GMOs for containers. I get a lot of my container varieties from Renee's garden, and she has a huge selection. So if you've got a small space, you still want to grow, or you want to grow inside, but you don't want these big sprawling plants, look into container varieties. The most important thing, regardless of how you're growing, is to start with healthy soil. If your soil does not have microorganisms, the proper nutrients and earthworms, you're not going to get produce that has maximum nutrient value. And I use kelp in my garden because when you think about a plant, whatever is in that soil, those plant roots are going to take up. And when they take that up, that's going to go into the food that you eat. You know, if you're not healthy, if you're not eating healthy food, and you get yourself in a survival situation, you're going to be running into a problem. So that's why this is really, really important. You also want soil that is, yes?
On the kelp, what nutrients is kelp putting into your soil?
Kelp has 17 different nutrients, but I believe there are 17 different ones, and I don't know off the top of my head what they all are, but I can tell you from my own blood work. When I was using kelp in my garden, and I was feeding kelp to my livestock, I had no anemia, I had no health problems whatsoever. After my husband passed away, and my life changed, and I could no longer do that, I have had to have iron infusions. I have had all kinds of problems. Last summer, I got back into the organic eating, using the kelp and growing what I could, and having my own food, and my anemia went away.
Just from an NPK perspective, though, do you know what, if you're talking about starting with healthy soil, what part of NPK does the kelp actually provide to the soil, do you know?
I don't think it provides any as far as that. It's not a traditional fertilizer at all. It's the nutrients that are in it, not the NPK, and I can tell you that I do not use any fertilizer except the kelp.
Yeah, and the reason I was asking is that you mentioned the kelp, somebody was talking that they were having a deficiency, maybe phosphorus or potassium, and I just happened to see something that they were either saying that the kelp had either a phosphorus or potassium, so I was just curious from your perspective. You've used it in that type of format of an NPK balance.
Yeah, no, I don't know what that is because I buy organic kelp for the livestock that's edible. So it doesn't say, and I've never had it analyzed, I just know.
Yeah, somebody just happened to mention that. Yeah, kelp, it looks like it's comes up either the or the Peter Pan. I was just wondering if you used it from that perspective to boost it. If your soil, when you did soil testing, something was deficient.
Yeah, no, I don't do soil testing. I have done hydroponic gardening, and from that, I understand that if you put your nutrients in your hydroponic unit, they're there. The plant is going to take out what the plant needs, but if they're not there, the plant cannot access them. And so the kelp has everything in it that the plant could need. So the plant will pick, I'm going to take this and this and this. And then the other thing that I did, because my animals were raised organically, I incorporated that manure and barn clippings and all that into my soil in the fall so that the soil was turned over, it sat there, and then my spring cleanings went into my compost pile, and they were worked in with the fresh back into the fall. So, when you're working soil, and this has been hard this year, if you pick that soil up and you squeeze it and it's got water coming out, walk away. Don't work that soil. You're going to turn it into concrete. You're going to have a problem. If you don't have a problem this year because you worked it, you planted it, it seems okay, I promise you will have a problem the following year because I've also done with that. When my stepdad helped me and I said, don't, and he did. So, in order to warm your soil in early spring, you got two ways to do this. You can lay black plastic, which is great if you get it on early enough because it's also going to choke out some of those weeds when the sun hits it. But it's going to warm your soil. And your soil is what is so important because your plant's roots are down in that soil. Now, that's not saying that if your soil is 70 degrees and it's 30 degrees outside that your plants are going to be fine. That's saying that if the soil is 70 degrees and you've got your plants protected with frost cover and plastic, your plants are going to be fine. I typically plant my tomatoes the second week of March here in Indiana. I get my soil warm, I plant my tomatoes, and I add 3 inches of compost, which is the other way to warm your soil. And when I plant my tomatoes, I bury those down to 2 leaves above ground. The rest of that stem gets stripped of leaves and goes into the ground. And then I cover it with the frost cover. I cover it with the plastic. Like I said, you can use tomato cages, you can use wood, you can use anything that you have, as long as the frost cover and the plastic are not touching your plants. You don't want any of that touching the plant material because it will freeze. Okay. Now, as far as planting in early spring, you want to get a soil thermometer and you want to take your soil temperature. If you're doing warm weather crops like tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers, you need that soil to be around 70 degrees. That's your opportunity. That's not saying if it's 65 degrees the plant isn't going to do anything. It's saying at 70 degrees you're going to get optimum growth. There are other plants, however, that are perfectly fine if the soil is 40 degrees. And some of these I go out on January 1st and I plant in my garden. As long as you protect the seeds from the animals, the seeds will sprout at the right time. These include kale, lettuce, radish, spinach, peas, and any other early spring cool weather crop. Now, with that said, Jerusalem artichokes, kale, and Brussels sprouts, I do not worry about covering right away. I actually let the first few frosts hit them. The Jerusalem artichokes I don't do anything with except harvest in the fall. The kale, the Brussels sprouts, and the Swiss chard I let get hit by frost. And usually they last in my garden until December, and then they get killed off. Now, if I wanted to cover them with a cold frame, I know that they would last longer. I just don't. The reason I let them get hit by frost is because it sweetens them, just like carrots. The cold weather, the frost, causes the sugars to come up and sweeten. Other ways besides the cold frames. Now, you can buy a fancy tile house and you can put $5,000 out and you're going to be doing good. But honestly, how many of us want to do that? You know, you just, like I said, any kind of makeshift cold frame, even if you take bales of straw and you put an old window on top, that's a cold frame. So get creative and think outside the box on this. You can also use cloches. Now, I know some people that take their milk jugs, portion out, cut them off, and put them over their plants. I do not do that because those are opaque. And I just, with the decreased sun, I don't feel like the plants are really getting what they're needing. Plus, they're so small that when those plants grow, you're going to have a problem with them touching the sides of the container. So I like bigger things that give me more room and also that I can get inside of. Because if you can lift up in the middle of the day, say 1 o'clock in the afternoon, lift it up, get yourself inside and close it down, you're having less heat loss. If you go out, say 9, 10 o'clock in the morning and you look inside that cold frame and it's winter time, everything's going to look frozen and wilted and nasty and it's dead. No, it's not dead. It just needs the heat inside of the cold frame to bring the plants back to what they should look like. To just heat them up and make them come back. They're not dead at all. The easiest, yes?
There's a book called Tomatoes Love Carrots. Is there a truth to that companion planting or no? And I've heard that Rich said that black walnuts do not kill off tomatoes. I don't know whether it's true or not.
Okay, I do use Carrots Love Tomatoes in my garden. It is one of my go-to books that if I can't find that when I'm planting, which I'm bad about, I get very upset and I have threatened to go buy 3 or 4 more copies of it because I'm always misplacing it. So I do believe in companion planting. Not only because some plants really do better together, but because you've got to confuse the insects. I do not grow green beans in my garden. I grow purple. I very seldom have yellow corn in my garden. I will grow green, I will grow blue, I will grow black, I will grow red. I will grow all these colors the same way with carrots. I don't do orange carrots unless they're just in the seeds I happen to get. I will do purple carrots, which, by the way, was the original color of carrots. The hybridized carrots are orange. So I will do all of these really funky colored vegetables because it confuses the insects. I also put flowers and herbs and everything else in my garden, and if you looked at it, you're going to be saying, what on earth is that mess? But it's about confusion. It's about bringing in the beneficial insects and keeping the bad insects away. And the only other thing I use in my garden to fight insects is diatomaceous earth. And I use it very sparingly because, with the exception of earthworms, anything with a soft body, including our bees, if they get against it, it will slice them up, it will dehydrate them, and they will die. So only when I see a problem do I use that. And only if I can't hand pick or come up with some other 3D solution. So, and what was your other? Yes.
Now, going back to when you're saying food preservation, and you just made a really good point, jumping off, what your preservation, you mentioned a keyword, less acidic. So when you're using a less acidic product and you're doing canning, doesn't that propose a problem in some cases?
I have not had a problem, and I've been canning for years. When I can my tomatoes, I mix whatever I have. Because I get a lot of plants and seeds to trial because of being a garden writer, I literally plant everything that I get, and I just, oh, look, this is ripe. Maybe I have 3 red tomatoes, 6 yellow, maybe 20 of my purple and black and brown tomatoes, maybe a few green ones, as in the green ones that are ripe. I just mix them all together and I don't worry about it.
Are you adding something like citric acid or lemon juice when you're doing
I use the ball book. The book that I like is the ball book. And because I was looking to put up food to cut my grocery bill, and I was actually able to cut my grocery bill for 2 people to $40 a month because the only thing I was buying was meat. Everything else I put up.
So have you done like a cost analysis of actually what it costs you to produce and plant that garden in comparison to like buying a can of tomatoes or something like that?
I have not. I have seen the one that's online, and I highly disagree with how they came up with their numbers. Because if you think about it, a tomato plant should do about 30 tomatoes, give or take. You go to the store and you buy 6 tomatoes. I like the Kamatos. And we're paying $4.99 for 6 tomatoes. You add that up, and even if you go and buy your plant at the beginning of the season, as long as your soil is right, as long as you're not being, excessive in fertilizer, like I said, I don't use anything but kelp, compost, and I mean, what's compost? Stuff you're going to throw away anyway. So it's stuff that you already have that's not really costing you anything except a little bit of effort. And to me, I don't feel like putting my time into the money equation is really, because you wouldn't go to the grocery store and say, oh look, it took me 2 hours at the grocery store. Really.
I would. Because I'm looking for the most efficient, cost-effective route there and back and everything else,
Yeah, and then the fact that I need organic produce, because when I go with conventional, again, I start having medical issues. So you look at the cost of organic and the difficulty of getting it, and there you go. So now, for those of you that's tried to grow lettuce in the summer, how many of you have ran into a problem doing that?
You mean that you're first planting the seeds in the middle of summer when it's 80 degrees out?
Yes. Did you know there's a way to stop that from happening? You can use shade cloth, lattice panels, solid shading such as metal roofing, heavy plywood, heavy shade cloth, or if you don't want to create a structure above your cool weather crops that's going to give it shade, put it in containers and move it under a shade tree or put it in a shady area. Because the key to keeping any of your cool weather crops like lettuce from wilting in the middle of summer, keep the soil moist. Add 3 inches of compost, because just like compost will heat it up in the spring, it will keep the soil cool in the summer. And put it in shade. So that's how you do that. If you're using a cold frame, you have to control the temperature inside with ventilation. Now, most of the winter, I do not ventilate my cold frame because I want that heat to stay inside and keep those plants warm. But when spring comes and in the fall, on those warm days, you need to put a little tiny crack in that cold frame, or if it's warm enough, just open it up, because you would not believe how fast it can get to 100 degrees inside of a cold frame. Even when it has been below 0 outside, and I have stepped into one of my makeshift cold frames, I've had to take off my coat because it is so warm in there that I can't stand my coat on. And it's nice. You want to make sure your soil is moist but not wet. So if you're gardening in the winter, you want to remember this water in soil is not going to evaporate like it does in the summer. Go out there and stick your finger in that soil. If you have dirt up to here, it's moist enough. If it feels dry, give it a light sprinkling of water. Don't overdo. That's the number one thing that people do, is either they underwater or they overwater. So just moist. There are a number of self-fertile plants, and then there are other ones you have to hand pollinate if you're going to grow them under cover. Self-fertile plants include tomatoes, beans, lettuce, peas, and peppers. So you don't have to do anything with those unless you want to, or unless you're intentionally making a cross. If you're going to try to grow tomatoes in the fall here and into winter, and I have harvested ripe tomatoes January 1st from inside of my large cold frame, which was a structure I bought at Tractor Supply. But you want to look for cold hardy varieties. Johnny's Seeds sells a lot of these. Look for tomatoes from, say, Russia. Places like that where it's cold, where they have a short growing season. You may or may not have success. I've had success, I've not had success. The one that I had success from, I sadly didn't save seeds from, which I wish I had. You can also smother your weeds with mulch or newspaper, but here's the nice thing about winter gardening. You don't normally have a weed problem. You get that bed weed-free, and you get your plants growing, and then you cover it up, and the weeds don't seem to come back in the winter. So I don't know why, because in spring they'll come, like crazy, but in the winter they just don't. The key to winter gardening success is to choose the cold tolerant varieties that will do well. Sowing seeds at the right time, like I said, about mid-July is when I start. You can go into the 1st of August. My grandpa used to always say, August 2nd, he would sow turnip and daikon radish seed. And I can tell you, when I harvested his turnips were like this. His daikon radishes were huge. And we got those in the fall, and if he would have ever let me put a cold frame over them, they would have stayed in the ground for the winter. So, but he wouldn't do that. Anytime the temperature falls below 32 degrees, your plants go into a state of animation, sort of. The plants are there. The plants are okay to be harvested, but they're not going to grow. They're not going to do anything. So as you're going through and you're harvesting your plants, they're just going to sit there. But as soon as those temperatures heat back up, the lettuce and other plants that will regrow are going to start to regrow again. Now, Once you find plants that do well under your growing conditions, you want to save seed for those and have those for the next year, because your seeds are going to adapt not only to your soil, but to the temperature, to everything that they are getting when they're being grown. Those seeds are adapting. And those are going to be the perfect seeds for your garden. And this is why sometimes when you buy seeds from wherever you buy seeds from, they don't perform so well in your garden, because they were grown in a climate that is different. They had different insects and different pests and different everything than what your garden has. And the only way for those seeds to build up resistance to all that stuff is to be grown in your own garden. And saving seeds, by the way, is really easy. You just need to make sure that you wait until they are actually seeds. Don't rush to harvest them. Let them turn brown. Use pantyhose to cover them if you're afraid you're going to miss them, because sometimes the pods will pop open. And then leave them lay out on a screen, a paper plate, whatever you have to do. Leave them lay out and make sure they are dry. You can put rice in a little cloth bag. You can put it inside of a small jewelry Ziploc bag and put your seeds down in with it. You can put that in a plastic shoebox with a lid and put that in your refrigerator. Most seeds will keep 3 to 5 years or longer when properly stored. And, yes?
Some plants like tomatoes and, cucumbers and stuff, is there a certain step that you have to do in order to get that mucilage that's off it or anything? I mean, is there, or can you just, like you're saying, just take them out of your plants and just dry them as is?
The ideal way to do tomatoes is to put them in water and let them ferment. You gotta watch it, because they will start to germinate if you do it too long. But let it ferment, and it's gonna turn real nasty. And then drain that water off, and then rinse them good, and then spread them out on paper towels to absorb the moisture, and let them dry.
You have to do like the same thing like with cucumbers or cantaloupes or that too, with all the gunk that's on it?
I have not done cucumber or cantaloupe, but I would wash those and not try to ferment if it was me. Just because when you start fermenting, you could end up germinating and not.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not fermenting for 3 days and then you rinse them off for 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's on cucumbers, and I was just curious if that was the same process with the cucumbers and that too, with the tomatoes and that. So.
I would think that melons would be fairly easy. I mean, I
mean a melon, but I'm thinking like cucumber, because the cucumber sometimes comes with that mucilage that's on it. I'm just wondering if it was like the same process.
Yeah, I have not done cucumbers myself, because I think they have to get really ripe in the garden to be able to.
Yeah, you just let them go to that yellow, orange, and the thing that you went over crap. I forgot one, type of thing. I usually just let that one grow. I was just wondering if, again, if it was the same process at that point in time.
Okay, and here's a list of cold hardy plants that will do okay over winter as long as they're inside of cold frame. Chives, garlic, parsley, sage, thyme, arugula, any of your brassicas, endive, lettuce, Swiss chard, kale, Brussels sprouts, bok choy, scallions, spinach, beets, onions, rutabaga, carrots, potatoes, turnips, leeks, and radish. Now, if you want to have continual crops to harvest, you're going to have to do some succession planting. So, for example, second week of July, you plant whatever you think you're going to want to harvest at one time. The following week, 7 to 10 days later, plant a little bit more. Continue that as late into fall as what you can, and then stop. And like I said, I had planted January 1st before, so you could keep planting if you wanted. And it's going to turn your succession planting to where in the spring when it starts coming up, ideally, not promising, but ideally it'll come up at different times. Especially if you pause and wait. Because I planted January 1st a bunch of stuff, didn't see it coming up, thought, oh, this did not work. I did peas. So I went out in March and I planted my peas. My peas planted in March came up. And I'm thinking, oh, this was a big fail. About a week later, here came the other ones, and they were bigger, healthier, and stronger, and did better than the ones I planted at the right time. So, are there questions? Yes.
You mentioned about seed saving that, so how do you determine what seeds from that particular plant you want to save?
I pay attention to the plant. If the plant is really healthy, really robust, tastes good, has all the qualities that I want, is not attracting a lot of pests, is basically the perfect plant that I want to reproduce, then I choose a fruit that is as near to perfect as what I can get. Because you have to remember, whatever you save is what you're going to get. If you save from a hybrid, though, it doesn't mean you're going to get that same plant. So you want to save from heirlooms. Because with hybrid, you could get what you grow. You could get the mother plant, you could get the father plant, or you could get, guess what? So heirlooms are really what you want for seed saving.
So who actually defines or has a definition of an heirloom?
An heirloom is a plant that is open pollinated and has been passed down from generation to generation. It is a non-GMO plant. And if you are looking for heirloom seeds, I'm going to suggest Baker Creek. You don't like that?
Yeah, I bought a couple things from them and had nothing but problems with orders. You know, a lot of difficulties, you know, because of all the different groups, they become, you know, how it is, you know, all of a sudden goes quote, to use the overused word of viral. And yeah, they've gone over viral type of thing. And myself personally, I've had nothing but problem with their couple orders that I placed, so that was enough of that.
Okay, well, see, it's been a few years for
Like I
me.
said, and again, it's based on people's personal. And the other thing that I don't like their website, because their website, which you would think would be a great place for information, their descriptions on their plants are horrific. They don't give proper information, you know, which you can go to other websites and you can see this beautiful, you know, great amount of information. In some cases, they don't even tell you if it's a determinate or indeterminate tomato or different varieties, and that's. I was shocked when again, like everybody else, started looking at things, or years ago when I bought things, and they haven't never improved of their nice definition and certain things that are properties, but even just the personal. What kind of sun does it grow this? You know, like where you can go to other websites and find just this great amount of. So yeah, I do have to say that's the other thing that because there's more hype to them than there is anything else at this point.
Okay, and see, I know.
Oh yeah, the 2 or 3 orders I placed, I'm like, we're gone. But like I said, just from the informational standpoint, where people that are starting off, I just find them to be just, you know, they're so vast with their plans that they never started off with good, solid information to begin with, and you wind up buying varieties and things that, because you've taken that chance that you really shouldn't have bought, like you're saying, with knowing what areas they're growing. Okay, so what zone is Indiana? What's growing? So that's the other problem that, you know, like that. I'm not buying stuff out of California because I don't want stuff that grows out of California. So just like that, I'm buying within. But that was one of the biggest disappointments that I found is their sparse and poor information on that particular product when I'm looking for, something specific or that, so.
Yeah, I see, I go there because I know what exactly I'm looking for. Now, no longer in business, but the other place that I went a lot was Bountiful Gardens. And when they closed, I was just sad because they had a lot of stuff for home gardeners and homesteaders. And they did have good information, I felt. But they closed. The other place that I get, and their website is awful, their ordering process is a pain in the you know what, but you're going to get some really odd stuff if you pay attention, is J.L. Hudson Seeds. And I love them for finding, because I do grow a lot of the odd. And otherwise, like I said, Renee's Garden, I get stuff from Johnny's Seeds, which is right over in Ohio, which is pretty close to Arza. So, are there other questions?
What zone are you?
We are, I still call us a 5, even though the map was updated to call us a 6.
A or B or just a straight 5?
We was 5A and now we are 6A. Yeah, I
You
don't.
in Indiana, is that the whole state or are you
No.
split somewhere?
I'm in Marion, so I would be in the upper part of the state. The warmer part of the southern part of the state would be warmer. They would probably be more like a 6B. But again, I don't agree with the new. I know we did a lot of research. I know the new map is in my book because that's what the publisher said we was going to do.
And I mean, the climates are changing, so things are going to have to change eventually.
Yeah, but then you have winters like this winter. And you have things that do not make it. And, yes, you have your microclimates in your yard and you heard where those are and you know where those are. And okay, we're supposed to be a 6A. I know where my microclimates are. And I order camellias that are supposed to be a 6A. I cover them because I'm questioning this to start with. And they're dead by November. Yeah, that's not right. And it wasn't the plants. It just got too cold and they froze. So, other questions? Yes?
Anything about trees? I lost one of my dogwoods last winter I had it around for 3 years. Should I mulch the ground because it's getting so cold or what?
I probably would. I would probably put 3 inches of mulch underneath of it. I know dogwoods are supposed to be one of our neighbors. But again,
Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois, okay. I'm really questioning this weather. I'm really questioning what exactly is going on because it's cold, it's wet, it's warm, it's messed up, and the plants are struggling. And when you see native plants struggle and not come back when they should, you know something else is going on. So I would mulch it well. Even, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but even if you go a little higher than 3 inches, just do not put the mulch against the tree itself. Keep it back a little bit because if that mulch touches the tree, it can cause disease and damage where insects can get in. So, but yeah.
What do you use for mulch? I have a lot of pine needles. Do I use pine needles or no? Or grass clippings?
You could probably, with a dogwood, use some pine needles. I like cocoa mulch, cocoa mulch
Cocoa?
from cacao, chocolate.
We don't have a lot of chocolate.
But if you have a dog, you don't want to use that.
And what?
If you have a dog, you don't want to use it.
Oh, I don't.
You can get it at nurseries, or if you live near a chocolate factory, sometimes they will give it away for free.
What about rice hulls? I saw a place where they had mounds and mounds of rice hulls. Is that a good mulch or not?
I've never tried it.
Okay. There's some place where in Indiana
Usually I use wood chips or newspaper, shredded newspaper. I've done that. It doesn't look pretty. And if you're in an area where your neighbors are going to complain,
To avoid using colored newspaper?
yes, just the black and white newspaper and shred it. And it's wonderful for amending your soil like that because the earthworms are going to work it. And it's going to be wonderful. Like I said, I like cocoa mulch. It's not cheap, but it really holds the moisture in. It smells wonderful. I mean, it smells like chocolate. And I think the changes in the soil that it makes are probably the best that I've seen. Other questions?